Okay, today, as the last bit of blocking and tackling before we move into how to supercharge your brain to become an immensely effective business person, today we're going to talk about increasing your confidence by giving you exactly what you need to go into any investor meeting. Stand by.
Welcome to the Turbocharged Entrepreneur, where we discover the secrets of mastering the mind game of success. Clear your mind's calendar. You're about to be infused with some high-octane wisdom that is going to help you turbocharge your positivity, your creativity, your productivity, and your profitability. Here now is your host, a former executive with the Fortune Global 100, a successful entrepreneur out of Georgia Tech's Advanced Technologies Development Center, an advisor in the Charlotte startup community, and your personal empowerment ninja, Sean Webb.
Hey, welcome to the Turbocharged Entrepreneur. I am your host, Sean Webb. Thank you for spending the time that you're spending with me today. I will make sure that we do not waste even 1 second of it. Okay, so going into an investor meeting can be a little bit nerve-wracking, to say the least, right? If you're going in to ask for money about something that you are holding dear to your heart, the positive or negative feedback that you get could be elation or despair. And we'll talk about some emotions and how they're created within the mind so that you can hone your emotional capabilities in business moving forward in the next few weeks. But in building your confidence to be able to walk into an investor meeting and be really charged and pumped to share your story, even though the likelihood is they're probably going to say no, all you do is find one yes and you're golden. To have that confidence, you need to go in prepared, and you need to know that you're prepared. And so today we're going to talk about the things that you need to put into your slide deck to be able to walk into an investor meeting with confidence and be able to put together a great presentation that will leave them wanting more. Now, I have an acquaintance named Guy Kawasaki, which may sound familiar to you. He is a friend of the family, and he reviewed one of my business plans at one point and crushed me on the slide deck that I sent him previously. And he outlines a good slide deck in The Art of the Start. It's a book that he put out a number of years ago, which I think is still apropos today when going into an investor meeting. I'll give you some caveats, but basically he pushes a 10-20-30 rule on your slide deck. 10 slides, 20 minutes to present it, and never use any less than 30-point font, because a lot of times investors are older and their eyesight's starting to go, so they can't read as well. And I got to tell you, this is a really good common sense tip. 30-point font, you're going to hate how much you're going to be able to fit on a page with 30-point font, but we're going to talk about that in a minute also, but you definitely need to use 30-point font. I don't necessarily agree with the 10 slides, only because I can't do it and I can't figure out how to do 10 slides, but the 10 slides that you're supposed to have are the 10 subjects that you're supposed to have. First slide is going to be your title slide. Okay, and this is basically just an introduction to get people ready to say, okay, I'm about to pitch you on this business. The second slide is going to be your problem slide. What is the problem in the industry that you are looking to mitigate? The third slide is your solution, and you put together the basics of what you're going to offer to solve the problem that you just talked about in slide 2. The third slide is the business model that you're going to use to attack this problem in the industry with your solution. Now, is it going to be a recurring revenue model? Is it going to be a one-time hit? Is it going to be a software as a service type of solution? That type of thing. The fifth slide is going to be, what is your magic dust? What are your magic jelly beans that you're only going to be able to offer the market and nobody else is going to be able to offer the market? What makes you special? What is your proprietary offering that will make you successful? The sixth slide is going to be your marketing and sales plan. How are you going to attack the market? How are you going to attack sales? What is your strategy going to be to get to the customers and to make them buy from you? The seventh slide is going to be your competition. Who is your competition? What are they doing in the marketplace? How are you going to beat them? Investors want to see this slide because they want to know that you know what you're getting into. They want to know a little bit more about the market and who else is doing it and why they're failing or why they're succeeding and why you can succeed better, and that you've put a great deal of gray matter into the analysis of this situation to say, yeah, I'm not just going to throw this out there and see if it sticks. This is actually going to work because the competitors are doing this and we are going to do this, which is better. The eighth slide needs needs to be something about your team. And this is probably the most critical slide of any investor presentation, because when an investor hands you money, they're not handing the money to an idea or to a product or to a service. They're handing that money to a person, and they're handing that money to a team of people who they are counting on to execute. And so you can have the best business plan in the world, and if you hand it to an idiot, he's going to drive it right into the ground. And most investors know this, and most investors, that's why they're looking for a top-notch team that has a track record of execution and or has the promise of being able to execute with a little bit of guidance. The ninth slide is going to be your projections. Where is your money going? Where is it coming in from? What are your costs? What are your expenditures? What is the revenue that you're bringing in? How quickly are your sales going to grow? Maybe you'll have two versions of this, one with an aggressive path with extra investment, one with the regular investment. And the 10th slide needs to be your status and timelines. Where are you now? What have you done? And what are you doing in the future? What is the calendar of your planned accomplishments? What are you going to do in the future? Where are you going to be in 3, 6, 9, 12 months from now? And this gives an investor the idea of where his money is going to go and what it is going to accomplish over the next 1 or 2 years, depending on how long it takes for the money to run out. Now, if you want to pick up a copy of The Art of the Start, it's a pretty decent book to pick up. I usually get, or sometimes get, advanced copies of Guy's books. By the way, Guy Kawasaki, I never got the follow-up edited final version of Author, Publisher, Entrepreneur. So yeah, if you could email me an e-copy of that would be awesome. Oh, by the way, if you're looking to self-publish a book, Guy Kawasaki and Sean Welsh's Author, Publisher, Entrepreneur, the only book you need. Now, when I used Guy's book, I built a slide deck that I'm going to share with you, actually. And if you'd like to go to the website, turbochargedentrepreneur/slide deck, all one word, and you'll be able to download the slide deck and see what I did there. But I'll just show you a little bit here on the video podcast what I did with my slide deck. Now, I cheated a little bit because it's an imaging system, and I put in about 5 images of some vehicles that create extra slides. So realistically, I did about 20 slides instead of 10, and I know Guy would slap me on the wrist for that. Now, here's the thing you need to realize, though. Guy used to have a VC company or be a part of a VC company where he had to watch hundreds of slide decks all the time. And so I think a little of his 10 slides, 20 minutes, 30-point font has to do with the monotony of watching that many slide decks. As you can see, I broke mine out, and this raised a lot of money. And I recently did a slide deck for a friend of mine for a company that raised about $2.4 million a year ago. So this type of structure still works. The first page, of course, was my title slide. Here it is. The company name was Agrius. I'm wearing the shirt today and the hat that we printed up. And basically, it was a high-resolution automated imaging system for vehicles that gathered a number of pieces of information about vehicles within 15 seconds on any major lot where there are a ton of cars. My slide deck went like this, the title slide, and then what the solution was that we were providing. And I mixed up the slide order from what Guy suggests because I had a story that I wanted to tell in a certain order. And so the second slide for me was telling about the solution, what we are providing. In slides 3, 4, and 5, and 6, and 7 were examples of what the solution does. And on slide 6, you can see there's a Mannheim Vice President's Porsche Boxster in the unit, and we're picking out 6 rock chips on the hood of this Porsche, all which in the industry cost $100 each in the resale of that vehicle. Slide 7 shows another gash in a vehicle. Slide 8 shows who is interested in this technology. So now that I've got them hooked on what exactly it is, now I'm showing them who wants it. And of course, the target market is way too huge. I just wanted to give them pivot options, which is, if you're talking about a pivot, you get into something, you're headed towards one direction, and then because that's not working out, you pivot and go another direction, okay? Investors are looking for that type of thing also. So I wanted to show them the great depth of the potential industry interest in this solution. So then the next slide, we go into who we're actually going to target, who we're actually going to approach to sell this solution to. The next slide is the P&L projections that we had for the business at the time, then the P&L projections with added investment, because we did have a path of organic growth and we did have a path with extra money being pushed into the business. The next slide after that shows the before picture of the market. The slide after that showed the after picture of the market. The next slide dug a little bit deeper into that and explained some details regarding the money trail. The dollars speak in the world of automobiles and why we were going to save dollars across the board for a ton of folks and really alleviate some pain associated with those dollars. Slide 15 explains a really cool thing that we discovered through talking to a number of dealerships regarding why they wanted to get people onto their lot. They were spending $50,000 to $150,000 a month on advertising to get people to their lot, and that was their primary goal, to get people to their lot. So we had an automated imaging solution that with a kiosk could automatically upload grandma and grandpa's car onto eBay or AutoTrader or Cars.com. And so now we're increasing the tech geeks from putting their car online to almost everybody being able to put their car online. And oh, by the way, you're driving to the car dealership lot to list your car online. Would you like to put a salesperson out into the unit to be able to list the car online for sale? Because now that you've invested in this thing one time and pay a monthly service fee, now you don't have to spend the $50,000 to $150,000 a month to get people to your lot with the Sunday paper ads, because guess what? They're already coming to your lot. No brainer. It was a 10-minute sales process with the car dealerships. It was awesome. Slide 16 shows how we affected that market. Slide 17 shows the data sales, because we're going to have data on all of these VIN numbers from point of origin to point of sale to point of return to point of sale again. Slide 18, I wanted to show a pivot point. I wanted to show an alternate use of the data and the service that we were going out in case everything that I've showed you up until this moment falls through. Slide 19, now we get into competition. We get back to Guy's recipe for success. We show the competition, we show the future marketing strategy and sales strategy. And so the next slide starts with the team. And so I started with the advisory board. Not that I don't have an impressive team, because I do with this company, but I wanted to start with the most impressive, put your best foot forward type of slide to be able to impress investors. So I've started with my advisory board. And if there's one tip that I can give you, go get a good advisory board, because one, you're going to get great advice from these folks who have all this industry experience and this specialty knowledge. And two, when it comes down to sitting down with investors and telling your story, having that great advisory board to wave as a big flag in front of these folks is awesome. And if you notice, this is a pretty strong advisory board that we had put together. Then after that, I put up the management team and I put some additions to the management team moving forward. And then last but not least, we had a number of milestones that we had achieved. So I had to spread what we had done, our status and timelines, into 3 different slides versus 1 slide, because I wanted to use big enough font that everybody could see. And we did have a number of accomplishments under our belt, and we did have a pretty solid plan of what we were going to do moving forward for the next 2 years. The last slide, of course, is what we were looking for, because after all of this information is out there, okay, what do you guys need? Okay, well, here's what we need. We need $2.5 million, and here's what we're going to use it for. Okay, so now, before we wrap up, I want to point out one thing to you. If you notice back in the middle sections of the presentation, there are a lot of diagrams and there is not a lot of type. Why do I want to do that? And why do you want to do that? If you send a crappy slide deck to an investor that's all text and yada, 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 and bullet points, they don't want to read a ton of text. And if you give them too much text, they're going to be able to make a lot of assumptions that are probably incorrect or possibly incorrect. So instead of being able to do that, when I talk to an investor, they say, yeah, send me the slide deck or whatever, I'll take a look at it, yada, yada, yada. I want to send them a bunch of pictures that puzzle them, but that intrigue them. So they now have to take a meeting with me to be able to get the full explanation of. And that's what I gave them in the investor presentation. We would go in there, I would have a number of stuff up on the board that they wouldn't be able to read so that they wouldn't be distracted. They have a number of pictures that really don't mean anything until I start talking about them, until I start connecting these lines and explaining the pain that exists in this space. Now, where do they have their focus? They have to focus on me. They can't focus on what they're reading, because if you give them a bunch of text, they're going to be ignoring you if they're reading the text. They're going to be ignoring what you're saying. They're going to be trying to pay attention, but they're not going to have their full attention on you. So if you put up a bunch of pictures, a bunch of diagrams, a bunch of stuff that they have to look at and really not process verbally, right? They're processing it visually, then they're listening to you verbally. And that's critical. Okay, so I hope this gives you all the stuff that you need to put into a slide deck to walk into an investor meeting with confidence. And I hope it gives you a real world example of a slide deck that was used to raise a lot of money. And the same type of slide deck you worked just last year. So it's not like this is out of date. Raised another $2.4 million last year with a friend's company based on the same type of slide deck put together. A lot of pictures where you have to explain what's going on, not a whole lot of text. The text that you do use is big. You put it into a story that people can listen to and are interested in, and you're done, right? So walk into that investor meeting with a great deal of confidence. And next week, we'll start on how emotions are created within the mind and how they affect you in business and how you can take control of that stuff. And this will be some one-of-a-kind stuff that you will not want to miss. So start sharing these episodes immediately. Love you guys. Hope you're having a great week. Talk to you soon. Peace.